This is me, Rowan Huang. Oh, this my thrill, and I'm so thrilled and honored to have professional Suzy with me. And thank you, Shirley from Spark Whimsy, for connecting us together again. Amazing connection. I cannot wait to hear everything about like what Professor Suzy Welch would like to share with us. So, Shirley, why don't you give us a little bit introduction about Professor Suzy Welch?
Of
Sorry.
course. Thank you so much, Rowan, for having me back. And hi, everyone. I'm Shirley, and I'm so thrilled to introduce you to Professor Suzy Welch. She's not just an award-winning professor at NYU Stern School of Business, but also a successful tech entrepreneur and a 3-time New York Times bestselling author. For 40 years, she's been sharing her wisdom on business and culture, captivating audiences everywhere, from crime reporting to consulting at Bain to editing at Harvard Business Review, contributing to the Today Show, and even writing for the Wall Street Journal and the Oprah magazine. Suzy has done it all. Now she pours her passion into teaching at NYU Stern, helping students discover their authentic selves and develop essential management skills. She's also leading an exciting new initiative on purpose and flourishing at NYU. It's a real honor to have her with us. Thank you, Professor, for making time.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, that's it. No, we're just so honored to have you. So the becoming you experience. I mean, when I look into that, I'm just like so, mind blown. Oh my God, that's something people need in this new era, right? So I would really, I mean, of course, people would like to, ask you how to do that and what, but hey, that's why you guys have to wait. Professor Suzy Welch has some, amazing one-day seminar is going to share with you guys. But before getting to that, I want to know, Professor Suzy, what inspired you to come up with this class? Like, like what inspired you to say, hey, why don't we have a class called the Becoming You Experience?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic question. So the class is called Becoming You, Creating the Authentic Life You Want and Need. And I created it over the course of probably 10 years or so, originally kind of in my head. And the reason why I finally ended up teaching it at NYU was because I needed to figure out who I was. I had had an amazing career, a long and exciting and what would seem to the world to be a very successful career. I was mainly a broadcast journalist, a business journalist. And then a couple of things happened. I lost my husband after a long illness, and I suddenly had a totally new life because that's a gigantic event. And then the pandemic happened, and I was put on hiatus from the Today Show on NBC. And like many people, I was just like, wait, who am I now? What was I actually born to do? I don't want to postpone my life. I don't want to do what I'm not meant to do. I don't want to do what just feels good enough. I want to actually do what I was born to do. And I thought, well, how do you figure that out? And I knew I had a methodology to figure out the answer to that question. What should I do with my life? I had a methodology. And then I codified the methodology, and I went to NYU, which I was very familiar with, the dean there, and he was familiar with me because of my work and my books and the Wall Street Journal. And I said, look, I have this idea for a class that will help students, really, wonderful students, answer this question, which even though they're smart and even though they're ambitious, they don't know the answer to. And I described the class to him. He said, let's give it a try. And we thought we were going to try with a little experiment, but the class kind of blew up because it ended up that there was a real need for people to find a way, because everybody's always telling you, go find your purpose, go find your purpose. And then they don't tell you how. But I had a method that helped you figure out how. And so the class became a phenomenon, and a lot of people ended up taking it. And then we ended up having a lot of people outside of NYU saying, how can we take this class? Yeah. And NYU did not want to not share the impact of this class. And so we created a way for me to teach it outside of NYU. I mean, I teach at NYU, but to people who do not go to NYU.
Well, that's so amazing. It's, like I'm pretty sure many of you in front of the monitor thinking, how could that be? I mean, you had it all.
Yeah.
Every other people, like, people like you should never have problem
Yeah.
finding yourself. But then
Right.
you would just share with us like,
Yeah.
no, even though you have it all, you still,
Yep.
struggling, dealing with this and all that. So
Yes.
I always believe from your own because you've been there, done that. Therefore, when you
Yeah.
actually share with other people, you know exactly what they had to
Yeah.
go through to find themselves.
Right. And so I
Yeah.
think that I was really familiar with the reason, even though from the outside it looked like I had the perfect life.
Mm,
And sometimes on the inside, it felt like I had the perfect life in that I had a huge amount of gratitude for what I had.
yeah.
I had a happy marriage. I had my health. I had
Yeah.
wonderful, wonderful children. But I always knew that I was not living exactly the life I was meant to live. Why? Because I had to make accommodations for my children. I made accommodations for my husband. I made accommodations for my job. I couldn't get exactly the job I wanted because life sort of demands different things of you.
Yeah.
And um, uh, we end up sort of adjusting ourselves to the world instead of like saying to the world, this is who I am. What should I be doing in it given who I am? And I have a name for this dynamic. It's a dreadful name, but it's very accurate. And I call it the Velvet Coffin, which is that we're in a place that's pretty comfortable and it's very comfy, but then the lid starts to close on us and we end up having a
Yeah.
life that's not exactly the one we should have. And I think that the life that we were born to have, I believe that our purpose is not our passion. Possibly. I think it's something different. I think our purpose is at the intersection of our values, our aptitudes, and our interests. So let me just unpack that just for a second.
Yeah.
So our values are what we deeply believe. They're our motivations, our desires, and we all have a set of values. They're very unique to us. There's 15 different values. And for me in my work, I want people to help understand how much they have of each one of those 15 values. We don't often know that information.
Yeah.
And my work is to help people find that out. So first you have to know your values, okay? What you
Yeah.
deeply believe about work, about family, about life, about stuff that you own, about how you look, about what kind of legacy you want to live. I mean, there's a way to figure out what your values are. We almost never talk about it, okay? We just bump along. And then our aptitudes are what we're uniquely good at, how our brains are wired and what our personalities are. Our aptitudes are what we're uniquely, now a lot of people are good at a lot of different things, but we're uniquely good at a couple of things because of our cognitive functions and our personality. And so you have to actually find out what your personality is, not what you think it is, but what the world thinks it is. And you have to find out how your brain is wired. And there's testing for that. We do a lot of testing for that. And then you have to figure out your interests. And some people have too many interests. And some people have too few interests.
Yeah.
And some people have interests that are completely opposite of each other. Okay. And so we do a lot of data excavation and find all those things out. And then we put it in a blender and we get the synthesized answer of what your purpose is. And I've seen literally, countless students and countless people, not just students, because people of every age have gone through this process now.
Yeah.
People all the way up until their 80s have gone through this process. So people from as young as 17 and people as old as 80 have gone through this process and come out and said, yes, 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 this is exactly it. And so that's really exciting.
Wow, I'm already excited. Get me excited.
I think you might be living your purpose already. So I don't know.
No. I'm thinking. I think there are more to dig there. But you and me doing kind of similar thing by coaching a lot of people. Even though we give them the perfect SOP, this is what you do, right? Mm-hmm. Very often, people's like, no. It's not as easy as you say it. Right. So, would you like to share with us what's a common roadblock that you come and hear from people or see people having, even though you already lay out for them?
Okay. The common thing I hear from people when they go through this is like, oh my God, this makes so much sense. Okay. Or they just sort of have this moment of extreme, like, this is so right. And then they think this is going to be hard because sometimes there's a lot of blowing up that you got to do to start rebuilding. Now, occasionally, and it's not never, every now and again, somebody goes through it and they think, oh yeah, I'm almost there. I just have to tweak this one thing. Yeah. I need more of this. I need less of that. I need to emphasize this strength. I need to learn more about this weakness. I mean, sometimes it's just tweaking. But a lot of times people go, yep. Okay, that's it. I got to boom, blow it up and start again. And it is hard, but it's really what makes it easier is having a roadmap. I mean, you can't pivot unless you have confidence that you're pivoting in the right direction because pivoting is hard and you're going to get knocked down, and you will only get up if you have confidence that you're going in the right direction. And that's what the process gives you is confidence to go in the right direction. I've got the why. because I know my values, I know my aptitudes, I know my interests. Okay, I'm not making this up. I've got a roadmap, I've got a plan, I've got the data, I'm going.
Okay, so the common roadblock that you see is that when people don't have a clear roadmap.
Yeah.
So what they do is that they got an idea, but then eventually
Yeah.
they lost that direction and then they give up, right?
Right. And they give up.
Okay.
That's exactly it.
Oh,
They give up because they're not really sure they're going in the right direction. Like they have an intuition. I should
yeah.
do that. And then it
I'm
gets
not
hard and they're like, okay, maybe I wasn't so right. But the thing
yeah.
that my process does is it sort of, then you go back to my process. If you've gone through it and you say, okay, wait, I remember the rationale behind this. This does make sense. I did the work to find it out. And so I'm now going to go forward because I did the work.
Yeah. Well, it's very often I heard, like if I'm going to introduce it to people, let's say becoming you, and people say, oh, that's all spiritual.
Oh.
You know what I mean? But it's not so.
No,
Right?
no. I am the least woo-woo person you ever met. You know,
well, for sure.
I mean, I am like all my tools are scientifically validated. We're very data-based. I'm not about that spiritual stuff. I mean, I know, and no shade to it. It's fine, but that's not what I'm about. I'm not that person. I am about like, look, you come to business school. I mean, my students at Stern, they're paying a lot of money and they're not taking a class that's touchy-feely. They go in, and I always say to people on the first day, if you think this class is easy, give your seat to a student who wants to get in, because the wait list is very long. And I'll say, if you think you're going to get an easy A in here, this class is going to be one of the hardest classes you ever take. Now, by this time, it's understood at the school that this is a very hard class, but it is not. And I have no problem with people sort of, doing sort of spiritual stuff, but that's not enough to plan a career on, in my opinion.
Yeah. Because very often I heard people say like, well, becoming you, find my interest from what I'm truly good at, that doesn't really generate any like financial wealth for me. And then, in their mind, they're thinking, well, then why does it matter? Why would I even bother to do it?
Yeah, well, the first thing we figure out is how much money you want. That's one of the first things we figure out, because why in the world would you be figuring anything out if you didn't have an honest conversation with yourself about how much money is enough? There's two things we look at first. How much money do you need, and where do you want to live? And to think about your career without thinking about money and location is just pointless. So I am relentlessly realistic. It's like, let's talk about money and let's talk about place. And then we can talk about other stuff.
No, very often I have people come to me and say, I want to be rich. But when I actually ask, okay, how rich is rich to you? They actually don't know.
Yeah, you got to get there. And we have a bunch of questions that get you there exactly. You cannot ask somebody directly, because there's a little stink off of saying you want to be rich. And so they go, oh, well, not that rich. Like, I don't want to be. And then, but we are like, the process is very, very inquisitive, and it doesn't let you off the hook. You have to be honest with yourself about how much money you want.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I do see from people is they don't even know how much they spend in regular basis.
Yeah.
They just
they're like this. They're like, I don't want to see it. Right. I know, but you gotta know that stuff.
No, it's very basic. Like, okay, how much is rent? I don't know. Like, okay, how about bill? No, they don't know.
Yeah, no, that's dangerous stuff. Yeah.
So I would say those kind of idea pretty much categorized to what you call roadmap. Like, at least you have to have a good idea. Like, what are you getting and where are you going with it, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you got to know a lot of stuff. Look, you have to do a gigantic data dump about who you are.
Yeah.
And not just that, what you can do. Because, like, you cannot go be Mariah Carey if you can't sing. Okay. So it's like, when there are people who talk to me about, you can't, people say like, oh, I want to be a CEO. And then we look at their aptitude tests and they don't have any CEO aptitudes. Okay. They're bad with people. They don't know anything about financial engineering, and they're aloof. Okay. Sorry. It ain't happening for you, babe. You know what I mean? It's like, that's why I say don't chase your passion unless you can do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a sad day for people who are like, I have to say, my daughter, who's 32, and she happens to be a casting director in Hollywood. And, a day doesn't go by where she doesn't meet somebody who wants to be like, an Oscar winning actress or actor, and they suck. Okay. Pardon my French. And like I said to her, this is my world also, is I have students who come in who want to have, they want to be Elon Musk, and it ain't happening for them. And so part of the work of becoming you is getting very real. Very, very real about what you can and can't do. You are uniquely good at something.
Yeah.
You are spectacular at something, but it may not be what you're telling yourself. Okay. You have to come clean with yourself about, and that's why we test. It's not my
Yeah.
job to tell people you're good at this, you're good at that, you're good
Yeah.
at problem solving, you're crappy at problem solving. Let the
Yeah.
test tell them. And we do very good testing on it.
Wow, that's so awesome. I can already, envision that how you must have broken so many people's heart. Like, no, no,
But
you
I
sucked.
love them. I love them, and they don't ever feel. Sometimes they cry, but other times, but they're crying because they're like, "Thank God someone's telling me this."
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I have students say to me all the time, "You're blowing my mind. You're blowing my mind," and I say, "That's what I'm paid for."
Oh, well, I love that already.
All right.
Obviously, you're very straightforward, as you guys
Yes,
can
that's for
see.
sure. Yeah.
Professor Welsh is so real and authentic. We're not going to cut this, which many of you knows, but I love that. So, since you've been teaching like the Stern School, like,
Yeah.
for years, you must see how generations shift.
Mhm.
Like how you change it, how you shifting. Would you say like Gen Z will have a more difficult time than it was before?
Well, they think they are. Okay.
I love that answer already.
Sorry. I'm on fire today, apparently.
Come on, they're gonna tell you, hey, there's AI, there's this.
Okay, look,
You don't have
I
that.
teach all different generations, okay? Because I teach undergraduates who
Yeah.
are 18 and 19. I teach MBAs who are 26, 27, 28. I teach executive ed people who are in their 30s, and I teach the super banking
Yeah.
execs who are in their 40s and 50s. Okay,
Yes.
so I teach every generation, and every generation has pros and cons. Okay, now obviously I kind of relate to the older generation because they share some of my assumptions,
Yeah.
like you got to work hard if you want to be rich. Okay, and
Yeah.
we're then, but what happens with Gen Z is like they want to be rich,
Yeah.
but they don't want to work hard. And like I had a reel the other day where I talked about a student who came up to me after we did our values work, and she said to me, "I think I've got a problem. I really have a high value of affluence, but a very low value of work centrism, which is how much you want to work." And I was like, "Yeah, that is a problem."
Yeah.
And so the thing with Gen Z is that's different is that when in older generations you realize, man, it really stinks that I got to work hard to be rich, but that's just the way it goes. Okay,
Yeah.
and Gen Z is got two different views about that. They're like,
Yeah.
it shouldn't be that way. I want to not work hard and be rich. And they don't have the part where they go, they don't have the part where they go like,
I heard that all
that's
the time.
just the way it is. Okay. But then they have another part that's really poignant and sad and beautiful and makes my heart break, which is that they say, yeah, but also I could work really hard and still not get rich. And about that, they're right. Okay.
Yeah.
About that, they're right. That the system is somewhat changed. AI is changing things. The economy is changing.
Yeah.
You can bust your butt. And in the olden days, it was pretty guaranteed if you worked and worked and worked and worked, eventually you would see some reward.
Yeah,
okay. And they, I don't know if they're right because the jury's still out and time is yet to tell, but I think it is possible that they can work and work and work and really kill themselves and still at age 39 be living in a walk-up with 5 roommates. Okay, I think that that's still possible. And so I feel for them on that, and that the guarantee that the system is going to work in their favor, that they're going to get what they work for, that may not be true anymore. Okay. And then maybe that's why they say, yeah, I want to be rich without working, because maybe the other part of it is like, because I may not be. That having been said, I still think work has a linear relationship with wealth accumulation. Okay. And I think it's very,
I do too.
It's very, very rare that somebody makes a ton of money just sitting around scrolling. Okay. If only, right, then we'd all be eating bonbons, but that's just not gonna, I don't think. And look, I've worked my butt off. You both have, we both are, we all three of us, I think, do the same thing. We get up in the morning, we start thinking about work, and we go to bed thinking about work, and it makes us happy, and we're driven, and I'm that way, and everybody I work with is that way. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but those are my values. So.
Well, I hear that all the time. Like, well, this is an example I heard a lot of time from Gen Z. It's like, I work my ass off, and this girl, just kind of do the dancing or eat something in front of TikTok, and then they make way more than I do. But then, according to what you say, even though that look easy, but the reality is they still have to get up every morning. They probably have to put the makeup on. They probably have to try 10, 20 times in front of the camera. So it doesn't matter what you perceive is easy. You do not see the hard work behind that.
Life is long. That person dancing in front maybe sort of maybe sort of making some money now and it looks easy. I doubt it's as easy as it looks, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay. That person's probably doing a lot of connecting and a lot of networking and a lot of marketing and a lot of stuff. But, like, let's just sort of see how it all evens out in 20 years. Because here's the truth. And I don't think it's going to ever change. I think this has been true since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
Is that the drivers are just three drivers of long-term success, long-term sustainable success. The quality of your relationships with people. I call it the pie theory. So there's the P, the quality of your relationships with people, the quality of your ideas. That's an I. Okay. How many good ideas you have. Okay. And then E, the quality of your execution.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, over the course of a 40, 50-year career, when you look at somebody successful, the very successful people had good relationships with people. They had a couple of good ideas. They had ideas. Okay. Let's just put it that way. They had ideas. They didn't just sort of go along for the ride, and they got done. Okay.
Yes.
They got it done. They said what they were going to do, and then they did it, and they followed through. And then if they didn't do it, they owned it, but they didn't miss a lot of deadlines. Yeah. Okay. And they said, I'm going to bring this to the post office by Thursday. And they bring it to the post office by Thursday. Yeah. They said, I'm going to finish this project by Friday. They finish it by Friday. Okay. So PIE. And so Gen Z does a lot of complaining about, I see people who are just influencers, when they're making $10,000 a week. And I was like, let's check in again in 40 years. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, if their PIE is better than your PIE, people, ideas, and relationships, then we'll say who was more successful. So it's not just how hard you work, but execution. A lot of that E is busting your butt and not letting any balls drop. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I have to agree with you. I mean, over the years, that's the only reason why I see people fail. They have the idea, they learn a lot of things, but then it's hard for them. They don't execute it.
They don't execute it. They think it's going to magically happen. And it's like, there's a lot of stuff that's just in the details.
Yes, I totally agree with you.
And I think that actually people sometimes ask me of the PIE, which is the most important.
Yeah.
And my answer is, I think your relationships are really, really important. But that E, that execution, if you're good at it, it covers up a multitude of sins. Okay?
Yeah, I would say it cover most of my life.
Right.
Yeah, because I got lots of ideas, but if I never executing them, I don't think I'm where I am right now.
That's right.
So
that's right.
Yeah. So no, that's amazing. So with all these years of courses and then the student you teach and things like that, can you share with us what's the most inspiring transformation? Like, you must have some amazing cases that you can share with us.
So many.
Yeah.
I love this story about this one student who I had. He was actually from Singapore, and he was a banker. He was sort of raised to be a banker. He came from a family that wealth was everything. And he was when he was a kid, he was put into a accelerated math program. And then when he went to high school and college, his parents were all over him, and he was going to be, yes, I'm going to be a banker. Yes, I'm going to be a banker. And then he went to London and he worked in banking. And then at a certain point, he said, I'm going to go to business school because I want to change the kind of banking I want to be. And then he came and he took the class, and he was actually a very quiet student. He didn't participate very much. I was very I thought, ooh, I don't know if his head is in the game. He was really out of the class. And then the last day he presented, and what he had found during the course of the class was that he had repressed and suppressed about himself his entire life, his artistic side, and that he wanted to be a fashion designer. And he actually, he said, this class taught me that I want to dress Kim Kardashian. I want to make the clothing that makes women impossible not to look at. And the class was like, what? I was like, what? And we were all like, oh my God. And he said, I found out I was living by my parents' values. I actually have no aptitude for banking. He said, it's a struggle for me. And I'm not interested in banking. I love fashion. And he said, I love magenta velvet. Okay. I'm more excited about magenta velvet than I've ever been about any banking deal. And he blew it all up. He actually graduated. Then he went to Fashion Institute of Technology across town, and he's now an apprentice in the fashion industry. So I have seen multiple transformations like that, where people have just basically said, this class has given me permission to stop the nonsense and to stop living for other people and to go, I've only got one life, one wild and precious life, and I'm going to live it the way I should be living it. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Wow. I can listen to all this kind of story all day. It really fit into my soul.
Oh, I'm so
Um,
glad.
wouldn't you say that? I mean, over the course, I realized, if I see people or my fan or my, student, like actually make a difference of their life, from whatever method that you're given, you feel so proud. I mean,
Yeah,
like a lot of my fans don't understand why, but I feel like at that point, you must feel the same. Like you feel
I
like,
know
oh,
you can't believe it. Like I cannot believe
yeah,
it feels incredible. You just feel like overcome. I mean, I sometimes I get a letter and I just read it and I think I can't believe this was written to me. And it's
yeah.
very humbling. It's very humbling.
Yeah, no, this is exactly what I feel at least.
Yeah,
When
and you
people
do it.
share
I
the
mean, you are
story.
always changing people's lives.
Yeah,
You should feel amazing.
yeah, and, because I believe that's exactly why you're doing it because they're so inspiring. Like all this
Yeah.
inspiring story like share with us. So you know, with all these things, like would you say, let's say, if I want to sum it up, and you offering this becoming you
Yeah.
class, like what would you see is the significant difference between the people who live the life that they think is okay day by day versus those one who are actually becoming them?
Yeah.
Like,
Right. So uh I say that when you are living your life in your purpose, you feel the term I use is exquisitely alive. Exquisitely alive. Like you just
exclusively
you
alive.
know,
I
it's
give
like
you,
there's a certain sweetness to it. There's a certain look, and you're not feeling that 24/7. You have
yeah,
bad days,
no,
and you stub your toe or you fall down. You know what I mean? Or you lose. I mean, like life happens. Okay,
yeah,
but when you're doing it, for instance, when I'm teaching, I feel exquisitely alive. Like I could levitate. I feel like I love it so much, and the energy is just right. And I know I am living my values and my aptitudes and my interests all at the same time. And I show a videotape in class of a rock and roll drummer. And there's a band playing an incredible song, and I focus in on the drummer because you can see him almost rising up out of his seat from the joy of playing, and the crowd is screaming. And I think that is what it feels like. So that's the difference. Okay, is that sort of feeling like you're going to levitate out of your seat as you're playing
yeah,
in an arena of screaming fans versus getting up and slogging through the day. And look, sometimes that's all we can do.
yeah,
Okay, because life happens and a
yeah,
kid gets sick, or we are struggling with anxiety. I mean, life is real. Okay, and sometimes
yeah,
all we can do is go day by day, but there is an alternative. We do have to work to achieve that alternative, but
yeah.
there is a way.
Well, I was listening to your podcast yesterday, and I heard this conversation. I find this amazing because a lot of people ask that. It's like, yeah, it sounds so good. Sure, you get up and happy and all that, but why bother? I'm gonna
Yeah,
die anyway. Like
yeah,
I heard this literally, from everyone. Like, so what? I come back happy. So what? I do this,
right.
but
That's
I'm
right.
gonna die anyway. Why
That's right.
bother?
Yeah.
Yeah. So share with us. I mean, I love how you explained that. It was so
Yeah.
beautifully.
I mean, a
Yeah,
student asked me that in class. Okay.
yeah,
So that was a stunning moment. I had an AMA in class. The students always ask
yeah,
me to have one session that's an AMA. And this student said to me, do you ever get sick of teaching this stuff since we're all going to die
yeah,
anyway?
yeah,
And I mean, I just it was a stunning moment. I mean,
yeah,
and all eyes were on me. And I said what I said in my podcast, which is hope is a choice. That's nihilism. That is an approach to life that is despair, but it's a choice.
yeah,
It's a choice, just like hope is a choice. And the case for hope is so much better. The
yeah,
case for hope is, if we're all going to die, why not live a great life? Like, if
yeah.
we're all going to die, why live a bad life when you have the
Why?
option to live a great life? I'm sorry, it's just logic. And so I choose hope.
Yeah,
And I actually think it's a moral obligation
yeah,
because your mood is contagious. And when you're a
yeah,
nihilist and you are a fatalist and you're down, you bring others down with you. Well, that stinks, and that's
yeah,
morally wrong.
yeah,
When you're an optimist and you believe in the future, that's the only way the future is going to happen. And you bring other people up along with you, and that's morally right. And so I
mhm.
actually do think that we're morally obligated not to choose nihilism. And I'll fight. I'll fall on that sword. I really believe it.
Yeah, no, that's amazing because I got often people ask me that question as well, but I
Yeah.
usually use it as imagine it as an amusement park. You come to amusement park, you can suffer. You can like hate
Yeah.
everything and then go home feeling sad or whatever. Or you
Right.
can decide to have fun of it.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, nobody's gonna sleep in the amusement park. Everybody's gonna check out.
Right.
But you can either have a
That's
good
so
day or you
good.
can have a bad day.
Yeah.
Right. So, that's why
Yeah.
I'm like, I really like, everybody who follow me know I strongly believe, once you figure out who you are and what you want to do, you can really have fun in here. And
Yeah.
I believe, professional Suzy Welch did way more professional job than I am.
No,
So,
I think
so
you're doing amazing. I think you're doing
no,
amazing.
I think it's so I'm really encouraging. And then we got exciting news for you guys as well. Obviously this, becoming you classes used to be teaching NYU and with high price ticket. Now I heard there's a special event happening that open for the public and
Yeah.
there's one day. Can you tell us something about that?
I have two different ways that I teach Becoming You to the public,
Yeah.
and which is fully endorsed by NYU. It actually takes place at NYU. Obviously I teach my regular classes at NYU, but I have coming up on February 1st, a one-day version of Becoming You. I mean, we do a lot of work in one day. You have to do some of the testing beforehand. That's February 1st. And then I also offer a 3-day version of it. People come to New York for 3 days from around the world. Last time we did it, we had people from South Africa, Madagascar, Geneva. I mean, all over the world come to it, and also New Yorkers come to it. And we spend 3 days doing the entire process. It's very intense.
Wow.
And those are both coming up. That's coming up March 21st or 22nd, that one. And you can learn more about both of them and what happens at both of them on my website, SuzyWelch.com.
Let me share the website right here. So in case people do not know, this is SuzyWelch.com. And then this is where they sign up, right?
Yeah, right down in the bottom corner, I believe is where it is.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So there's two different versions, the 1 day and the 3 day. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, exciting, guys. Hey, all you guys living in New York, check it out. Come on. You don't have this kind of opportunity come by anytime.
Yeah. Come find out what you should do with your life. Yeah.
But before you enter it, you got about a couple of weeks to catch up with the podcast. I'm going to quickly show the podcast to everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
So this is a podcast. Obviously, you can find podcasts from, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube, and then listen to the whole series of Becoming You.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Thank you.
I wish I can listen to them all, but they are, so good to listen to.
Thank you very much.
And
there's always snippets of them on my Instagram too. So my Instagram,
I'm gonna show you Instagram right here.
My Instagram has little pieces of my podcast all the time.
Yeah. So this would be a little piece. You guys can have a little taste. Oh, you look so beautiful there.
Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you.
This is what you guys would look like once you.
Lots of filters going on there, I think.
No. Once you're becoming you, like what I do realize people come in is once they find out who they truly are, they glow from inside out.
Oh, yeah.
And I think you have that glow.
Thank you. Thank you
So
very
if many
much.
of you want to check out the Instagram or the YouTube, same thing, Suzy Welch, then you will be able to, stop Professor Suzy Welch.
Go for it.
Amazing.
Thank you.
And Professor, before you go, could I ask a quick question?
Please.
As a big fan of yours, who obviously read your 10-10-10 book.
Yeah.
Could you kind of tell us a little bit about that? Because I would love to introduce that concept to many of Rowan's fans. And also, how do people use 10-10-10 to kind of overcome their overthinking mind, to make important life choices and decisions?
Great. 10-10-10 is I love talking about it. It's a decision-making system that I invented in 2009. It's widely taught at universities in the United States now. And I wrote a book about it called 10-10-10, which is about actually to be reissued. A new updated version of it will be reissued within the year because it's a very popular concept. And it's about making your decisions in a systematic way that takes into account your values. Okay. So I actually personally like people to do Becoming You first, because then they find out their values and then it's easier to use 10-10-10. But in short, 10-10-10 says every time you're faced with a decision, you need to do some data excavation. And the data excavation is to look at all of the options that you have. You have got a decision. You maybe have 2 to 3 options. Maybe it's just yes or no, but maybe it's yes, no, and this other option. And then you ask about the consequences of each one of those options in 3 different time frames. The immediate future, that's 10 minutes. The foreseeable future, that's 10 months. and the life you want to create, that's 10 years. And that actually prompts quite a bit of data. Now, look, you can do this writing it down. My students do it in a classroom. I teach it in my management class, which includes a big module on decision making. We have forms and you fill it out and you do all the work on paper. But I do 10, 10, 10, and many people do. I mean, millions of people use it, do it in my head all the time. And after you get all that data, you compare it to your values, and the right decision almost magically pops. I mean, 10, 10, 10. Once you have the system and the values, it takes a lot of the agony out of decision making, which is why it stood the test of time.
Wow, it's amazing. I give people the similar thing too, just because whatever you worry about like right now, it doesn't matter in 5 months.
Yeah,
or whatever.
But if it does matter in 5 months, it's important to know it and to understand
Yes.
if that matters to your values. So I think it's a good point. Yeah.
Wow. I just realized you also have a book coming up.
I do. So the Becoming You is coming up. The book of Becoming You is coming out in May. So you can pre-order it if you want.
You can pre-order it from Amazon?
Yes, you can.
Oh, perfect. So guys, if you guys want to have a little taste, now is the time to pre-order. You will deliver to your doorstep. You don't even have to go anywhere. So
yeah, that's right. Don't have to come to New York.
But anyway, we don't want to keep you. We can talk to you forever, but we don't want to keep you, we know you
I
have
am
a
so
busy
glad.
schedule.
Thank you for inviting me on, and thank you for making this happen. This has just been a total delight. I'm so in awe of both of you, actually. So
No, we're so thrilled and honored that you willing to come live with us.
Thank
And yeah, so guys, if you guys are in New York or not in New York, do check out the website. You got a seminar obviously online too in the future.
I do. I have some, but I don't very often do them. But occasionally I do a seminar online. I think we have one.
As long as we follow you, we would know.
Yeah, right.
Yes, but for many of you who happen to swing by New York or visit or live in New York, Professor Suzy Welch do offer 1-day seminar that's on February 1st. That for many of you who are busy for 3 days cannot go, this is the one. So I encourage you guys to check it out. From what you heard so far, it's all scientific and it's easy to understand, and there's no maybe possibly it's right there on the paper, right?
Thanks. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you again. And
all
then
right.
we wish to see you all. And thank you, Shirley, for connecting us again. This is a wonderful, so good to talk to you. So
wonderful. All right.
Yeah. We'll see you guys next time.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.